saddle. And our official for tonight's match, Mr. Kurt Navy. At this time, in honor of our flag and our country, and in recognition of those who serve and protect it, we ask that everyone please rise, remove all headwear, turn your attention to the Stars and Stripes for the singing of our national anthem. Oh, sing, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Okay, one of the unique things we have going here, I'm sure you noticed this, Fitzy, but not only is our public address announcer really good, he's also our national anthem singer. Kind of a unique 1-2 punch there.
Not something you see very often.
No.
Great voice for announcing, great voice for singing too,
It
so
is.
great job for him.
Also, another thing about Brian Zins that people should know, our public address announcer, he's an MSU grad. He's a former wrestler at MSU, and he hails from lovely Fulton, Minnesota. So, very fortunate to have Brian work with our program.
That's quite the resume that he has, especially for wrestling too, but if he's able to do all that at once, we're grateful to have
Well, let's
him.
talk about the lineup tonight, Aaron. We're going to start off at 174 with sophomore for Minnesota State, Zach Johnson, and Dan Gaynor for St. John's. What do we know about those two guys, record-wise?
Zach Johnson, he's hosting a 4-4 record, so he's sitting at 500. Of course, this is his first the first dual meet of the year, and it is his first one at home. So we're looking to see some different things from him. Now, when we look at Dan Gaynor, he's at the 174 as well. Obviously, he is 0-2, so we could definitely expect him to come out firing all cylinders. Still looking for that first win. That's something you want to get going earlier on.
Of course, Minnesota State, a Division II school. They entered the week ranked 19th in the country. We're 16th the previous week. St. John's, a Division III school, as we all know, out of the Minnesota Intercollegiate Athletic Conference. It's not a conference sport in the conference. They operate as an independent. But we're off and underway here in Taylor Center with this first match tonight. 2-point takedown right there for Johnson. So a quick lead for the Mavericks. Zach Johnson.
And again, too, this is Dan Gaynor looking for his first win of the season, too. It's interesting to see that he has gotten down, succeeding a couple points here to go. We see the ref down, giving more points here to the Mavericks.
There's a pin.
It's a pin.
Yep.
As a fall in 26 seconds for Zach.
So just 26 seconds in, Zach Johnston going to get that pin. A good team score there for the Mavericks.
St. John 0, moving on to 100.
So the Mavericks take a quick 6-0 lead there on the win by Johnson. Johnson now 5-4 on the year.
Couldn't have wrote a script better for that one if you're Zach Johnson. Just get in, get out, do all the business you can. We hear the announcer. It is Corey Abernathy coming up, so we are at the 184 weight now. Abernathy is 3-1 so far, all in tournaments so far this year. Facing another 3-1 in Luke Dodd, so it is very evenly matched when we just look at the records alone for this one.
Yeah, and the Mavericks actually suiting up 3 national qualifiers tonight and 2 All-Americans. Abernathy's one of them. Finished 8th at last year's national tournament. And he's pretty salty. Wrestled a lot for the Mavericks for the past 4 years, and I think it'll be a stiff test for Luke Dodd.
2-point takedown.
when you look at the Mavericks wrestling team, of course, one of the things that you said, Paul, is that they are ranked coming into this nationally too, but they did send, as we heard from the announcer, a couple people to the All-American, or to the national tournament last year. We do have a couple All-Americans, and of course, Adam Cooling, a senior that graduated last year, is a name that kind of became household more or less last year as well for the Mavericks.
Yeah. Matt Bloom, also returning All-American. He wrestles next at 197, and Dylan Herman made his first appearance at Nationals last year. He's wrestling at 165 for Minnesota State tonight. Those are three qualifiers for Minnesota State from last year's national tournament who are wrestling against St. John's tonight.
Of course, and as you said, just going off that too, Paul, we are getting our first look at one of the two returning All-Americans for the Mavericks in Abernathy wrestling right now against Luke Dodd. Abernathy does have top control right now for the Mavericks. It's going to be a 4-point near fall for the Mavericks.
Abernathy 24-9 last year. Entered this year ranked 4th in his weight class.
It's always interesting listening to the coaches for wrestling too. It's a lot different in wrestling than it is for other sports, where you almost let your athletes do what they know how to do rather than giving them the constant instruction. We're hearing a lot of silence on the sidelines, especially from the coaches for both these athletes right now.
Racking up the points here now. Another 4 points for Abernathy. Takes a 10-0 lead here in the first period. Going to reset.
Reset as that one did go off the mat there.
Athletic events. Join the Junior Maverick Club, sponsored by Wells Fargo, for just $30. Your membership will give you free admission to all Maverick sporting events this season and a free Maverick t-shirt. Contact the athletic office for details.
Well, first dual action for Minnesota State right here tonight. They have been busy, as you can tell. 3 open meets so far. Minnesota State competed at over in Rochester, the Yellow Jacket Open to open the season at the beginning of this month, and then went to Luther, and then at Augsburg 2 weekends ago. So this duel here coming early in the season for Minnesota State, the Buena Vista Open on December 2nd. That's Saturday, and then dual action on the road in NSIC Minot State up in Minot on December 9th, and then the next night in Bismarck at the University of Mary.
Another unique thing to wrestling too, just the way that the schedule shapes up. This is only one of 5 open/dual meets here at Minnesota State University Mankato. So that's one thing that you definitely want to get out to. Is if you miss one, you're going to miss about 20% of the season that we have here at home. Yep. Again, there is only 5 here, so definitely come out when you can for these meets.
Well, another 4 points going to be scored here on the near fall. So it's now a 14-0 lead for Abernathy.
Abernathy, again, no stranger to success. Coming in at 3-1, we've said a couple of times, being the returning All-American or one of the 2 returning All-Americans, and the Mavericks do have a 14-point lead. The Johnnies still looking for their first point against the Mavericks. The referee's position is going to give Luke Dodd the on-top position here, given again by the referee after that break.
One-point escape.
That's it.
3 minutes, 11 seconds, a 15-0 technical fall victory. Team score, Minnesota State 11, St. John 0. Moving on to 197 pounds. For the Johnnies, senior Nick Pegalo. And for your Mavericks, the returning All-American sophomore from Mount Orem, Wisconsin, Matt Bloom.
So another great, just going back to the last match that we saw, another great showing there by Abernathy, just kind of coming in and out. Took 3 minutes and 11 seconds, but completely swept the scoreboard. Again, that was a 15-0 win, hence why that match ended. Early on here, we do have Blom on top, and just looking at some of the information we have on Blom, he did see his first competition of the season at the Augie Open. The All-American started his day quickly. He pinned his first opponent in only 1:40, and then he reached the final of the 197 bracket by winning his next 2 matches with a 4-0 decision.
Now, Bloom's a kid who came on late last year, Fitzy. It wasn't until after Christmas where he really solidified his position in the lineup, but it didn't take him long. Once he did get into the lineup on a regular basis to show how talented he was. All-American as a freshman. That's pretty unusual, obviously. It was just a great start to his career last year with 8th place finish at Nationals and All-American in his first year as a true freshman. And dominating here early in this match. 8-0 lead right now for Matt Bloom over Nick Bigelow.
8-0 in this match for Bloom. It is 11-0 overall for the Mavericks. Bloom, he only has that one loss. Again, looking at his record, he is 3-1. It was a narrow loss. It was in one of their first matches earlier in the year, but just going back to what you said about him being the freshman last year too. On the mat tonight, there is only going to be one freshman for the Mavericks with a 9-3 record, and Kyle Rathman. Very good recruiting for the Mavericks too, having him as an All-American last year, and then Rathman, of course, with the early success so far in his career too.
12-0 now is another 4 points for Bloom.
Four-point near fall Bloom. In 1 minute and 41 seconds.
So Bloom is able to do everything that he needs to do. Again, you heard the announcer saying just 1 minute and 41 seconds. He was able to win that one, 16-0. So Mavericks have won all three of the first matches so far with the team score leading by 16 as well, 16-0 over the Johnnies.
And for your Mavericks, a sophomore from Salon, Iowa, Logan Linderbaum.
A couple big boys coming to the mat now, weighing in at the 285 weight class. So this is a sophomore now for the Mavericks in Logan Linderbaum. You heard that he is the sophomore out of Illinois for the Mavericks. Again, this is the 285 weight class too. Something that the fans always love watching, or the heavier weight competitors too. You see a lot of the muscle coming in this way, so it'll be interesting to see how this one goes for both competitors. Both competitors on their feet so far, no one going to the mat yet. However, Linderbaum does have control. He is going to get the 2-point takedown on that one too, taking the early 2-point lead here for the Mavericks.
Linderbaum did wrestle last year as a freshman for the Mavericks, went 3-4. So limited action so far for the sophomore. He's 3-4 last year, 3-4 right now.
He is going to get the referee's position here on top. We'll resume looking to get the breakdown. It won't be a takedown as they are on their knees instead of their feet, but he is still looking for the breakdown here on the Johnny's competitor, Dominic Skowiniak. Does have the over position early on here on Skowiniak. Again, still 2-0 here for the Mavericks in this match.
Just looking at my stuff here, Linderbaum was actually 12-7 last year as a freshman, so 19 matches as a freshman last year for Linderbaum. Mavericks do have a couple of options at heavyweight. In addition to Linderbaum, Chris Zimmer is a kid who's wrestled quite a bit for the Mavericks over the last few years at the heavyweight division. But Linderbaum gets the nod tonight. Leads 2-0 right now in this match.
Shown early on why he got the nod too. He's had complete control so far in this match. He's been on top of Skowiniak again for this home match, of course, only scoring the 2 points so far. Referees kind of just letting them do their thing until one of them's able to get to the position that either of them would like at this point. You can hear the Mavericks head coach is yelling heavy on it right now too, basically just as if to say, keep doing what you're doing because the points are going to come. It's a lot of person to get off of you when you're in that position too. So one of the main things you can do is just gain that energy back, get the technicalities, and just get those points as much as you can. He will get another breakdown there too for the Mavericks there
you
near
mentioned
the edge of the mat.
You mentioned the Maverick coaches. Of course, Jim Makovsky, a longtime head coach of the Mavericks, in his 25th year with the Mavericks, 286, 130, and 3 over the course of his career. But we do have a new assistant coach.
And for that first one, you can thank Zach Johnston.
The new assistant coach replacing Mark Harwood, who left the Mavericks to go into family business. Mavericks were fortunate to pick up Ty Eustace. I mean, Ty Eustace, that name resonates with the wrestling folks in this part of the country. But Ty Eustace from Blue Earth, Minnesota. His dad, Jack Eustace, is in our Hall of Fame. Wrestled for the Mavericks back in the 70s, one of the all-time top Minnesota State wrestlers. And, of course, we have a storied history in wrestling. But Ty Eustace was a wrestler at the University of Iowa, had a great career there, going 1-11 and 29 as a Hawkeye. And actually ended up after being at a couple different places. I ended up as a GA for Jim Makovsky, and was a grad student here for a couple years, 2007, 2008. And then went to work at South Dakota State and ended up at working for Jay Robinson, who is a former wrestling coach at University of Minnesota, and he spent the last 5 years working for Jay Robinson Intensive Camps, where he's the executive director of that organization. So unbelievable get, I think, for Minnesota State. I think people at No Tie speak extremely high of him on a number of levels. He's a wrestling guy through and through, and he knows a lot about our program because he was a GA here, and of course his roots go back extremely deep with his dad being an alumni of the program.
It's always nice to see when they come back home too. I mean, you had a long history that you just talked about there too, but they always come back to their roots and where the success started. And of course, when you're being an assistant coach to Makovsky with the record of 286, 130, and 3 that you just stated, Paul,
yep.
That's quite the mentor to have too when you're just getting back into the ring of things. I got to add to that too, Paul. It is amazing the knowledge that you have on the background of this team. I mean, all the teams here at the school, but just sitting by you and taking in all the information that you have, could not be more glad to have you to my left right now. So I mean, me as the commentator right now appreciates that. Listeners 100% appreciate that.
Thanks.
Lots of information.
I appreciate that, Fitzy. It's one of those deals where we're so fortunate to be able to work with such great programs, great coaches, and of course they do an unbelievable job bringing in tremendous student athletes. And we've got one wrestling right now, Linderbaum leading 4-1 here, and we're in the second period. Close match, 4-2 now, as the St. John's wrestler Dominic Skowiniak picks up a point, and basically Linderbaum let him stand up on that and try to take him down here again and get another 2-point fall.
It's one of the things that we saw a lot with Adam Cooling last year too. That was kind of his wrestling style, is that he would get a couple quick points, let him up, and then go for the takedowns and the falls again to get more quick points. And that might be something that Linderbaum is kind of taken out of his book. Obviously, Cooling had a lot of success with that, and if Linderbaum is able to kind of write a script like that on his own too, he'll have a very successful
It was great
career.
watching Adam progress as a wrestler over the course of his career. You know, he ended up his career finishing our top 5 in wins. Of course, an All-American again last year, and also an academic All-American, 3.8 grade point average, and another local kid from Medelia, and a humble guy who was one of the top wrestlers, certainly in our program and in the country last year. It was fun watching him wrestle. He was a technician. It was really cool last year when we were here when he got his 100th career win.
I wasn't in attendance. I was here at MSU though.
Yeah. It was pretty. It was a lot of fun to see that happen.
As a student, one of the things that rings in my ears too is when you said that 3.8 GPA as a student athlete too. That is a lot of work that he's putting in if he's able to stay with his academics that way too.
MSU Athletics wishes to thank this year's Drive for Success courtesy car participants.
Score is still 4-2 right now for Linderbaum over Skowiniak. Skowiniak has been able to get the first couple points here for the Johnnies, so looking to build off of that. Of course, it is Linderbaum doubling up. Only 4-2 though, so still very early on in terms of points here in the match for these two.
You get a warning on Linderbaum there, but Skowiniak had the option there, and he chose down. So he's going to try to get up here to pick up a quick point. 2 minutes left here in the match.
Just about did just that too, what you were saying, Paul, trying to get that quick point there.
Yep. There it is. Yep.
There it is too. So you called that one about 10 seconds before it happened. It is going to be the 1-point escape there for Skowiniak, so good job to him. More or less deferring to be on the bottom position there to get that quick point there for the Johnnies. You will see later on in wrestling matches too. I mean, this one's kind of been a little bit of a relay right now with the amount of time it's gone on. Fatigue 100% sets in, and that is something that not only takes over physically but mentally. Good job by both these athletes still physically staying in this one, but as time goes on, if they're going to keep this close too, that's something that we're going to see, is just both these wrestlers maybe leaning on one another a little bit, staying on the mat a little bit longer than they need to, but just seeing how that fatigue affects both of them.
1 minute left here in regulation.
You can hear the coach here for the Johnnies yelling at Squiniak just to set the pace himself, of course. There is just 45 seconds left here in this match. He is just needing 1 point to tie. Linderbaum does still lead 4-3 in the match with 40 seconds remaining. Maybe a 2-point takedown there for Linderbaum, as you heard over the mic, so he does double up on points again.
Linderbaum does have riding time as well, so that was crucial.
Another point there for Squiniak on the escape. Maybe another couple points there for the Mavericks on the takedown, though, for Linderbaum.
And 2-point near fall.
Another couple points for Linderbaum, 2 off the near fall.
1 point escape, Squiniak.
1 point escape.
$11-5 with the riding time, Aaron. 11-5 the score.
Riding time advantage and 11-5 decision for Logan Linderbaum. New team score, Minnesota.
Great job by both athletes going the distance on that one, too. It did end up being 11-5 there for the Mavericks, now leading 19-0 as a team score. But a great job by both athletes, just staying up and staying, giving their style for the whole time there. I mean, the two athletes weighing in at 285. That's not something you see every day between those two. Good job to both athletes.
Okay, so now we're back at the top of the order here. 125, Andrew McFall for the Mavericks, 7-2 on the year, taking on Noah Becker. It was 1-2 for St. John's. Andrew McFall, one of the most appropriately named wrestlers I think I've ever seen.
McFall,
yeah.
Absolutely. Yep. Great wrestling name for him.
Yep.
You heard the walkout song when he comes in too. The rapper's screaming "Cold Like Minnesota." So
Cold like Minnesota.
Doing everything he can to give you kind of the hometown feel with wrestling. Now we will see, all things considered, probably a little bit faster pace with this one. They are both weighing in at 125, so you're going to see a lot of the technicalities, but also a lot of the time you are going to see, for lack of better word, just the bodies flying a little bit on this too when you have the two competitors at this weight. And just like you said, Paul, McFall does have a 7-2 record right now. One of the better, with exception to Rathman, of the Mavericks that will be competing this evening against Becker, that has the 1-2 record for the Johnnies. Minute in to this match, it is still 0-0. Neither of the competitors have been able to score a point for their team yet.
Battle in there. Up. Watch yourself. Now up and finish.
Referee just letting these competitors wrestle right now too. Hasn't given out any points yet. You've heard a couple of the coaches yelling 4 points. The referee hasn't seen anything yet though, so the match score will still stay at 0s.
Mavericks used 2 wrestlers in dual action last year. Andrew McFall was one of them. 2 points for McFall there. McFall went 5-4 last year, but he was 4-2 in dual action. Trevor Schultz was the other MSU wrestler at 125 last year. He was 4-5 on the year.
1 point escape, Becker.
So you will see, just like you said there, Paul, 2 points on the takedown, but there was the 1 point escape there, so it is 2-1 now. 2 minutes into this match, or just under 2 minutes into this one, I should say. One of the first of McFall's wins this year at the Luther Open came against Riley Lull, who wrestles for UW Lacrosse, University of Wisconsin Lacrosse. He had a 13-3 record before he wrestled McFall too. And so though McFall is 7-2, very good record, he's wrestled good competitors too. Yep. If you're beating someone 13-3, you're not 7-2 just because you've wrestled the worst guys on the team. You're wrestling good kids at that point. Good takedown there by McFall. It is going to be a 2 point takedown for the Mavericks. Out of bounds call there by the referee. Just 14 seconds remaining before the first break here in the match.
MSUMavericks.com, through our Facebook page, Minnesota State Athletics, and through our Twitter page at MSU Mavericks.
Referee position will put McFall on top of Becker here for this one. Johnnies are going to get the caution on that one just for the illegal play.
19-0 the score in favor of the Mavericks.
Go. Short time.
Another point there for the Johnnies. 1 point escape for Becker.
That could have gone either way. Fitzy. McFall had position on him, and Becker able to get free.
McFall was maybe about a half leg sweep away from getting a 2-point takedown on that one too. I kind of looked over at the ref to see if he was going to give it to him. Of course he did not, but McFall does still have the 4-2 lead in points so far in this match. Three of McFall's victories so far have come by decision, so he's another wrestler here for the Mavericks that goes the distance a lot of the time in terms of how he wins his. So that's 4 of the 9 of his matches so far have been decided by decisions.
So close. Not gonna get it.
It's amazing to see the difference in the wrestling techniques and styles from this match compared to the last match. When you have two guys that are weighing 285, you're not going to be throwing around bodies. I mean, you're going to be strong when you're weighing 285, but if you can throw around a 285 body, good for you. But when you have a couple competitors that weigh 125, you're really able to throw people around and get a little bit more of positioning in that matter rather than just using your weight to your advantage, because there's just not much to you at that point. And we're seeing a lot of that in this match so far too.
Breaking down.
So Becker takes the lead. 5-4 now the score.
This is the first lead by the Johnnies in any of the matches so far in this one. McFall is going to even the score back up with the escape on that one. There's a pretty clear escape, so that was 1 point again for the Mavericks. McFall.
Up, off your knees. There you go. 35. Score here.
Neutral, so no points were given out there. And just looking at another one of McFall's stats too, one of his earlier decisions did come in a loss in a first place match too. Definitely something McFall would like to correct and get going again. A 7-2 record with one of those losses coming in a first place loss. So
is that at the Augsburg tournament?
That was, yes.
Yep. 2-point takedown there for Becker.
Good job by Becker sneaking in those last couple points right before the time expired too on that portion of the match.
MSU Athletics would like to thank this year's Maverick Student Rewards Program sponsors: Suntan City, MSU Army ROTC, Domino's Pizza, Buffalo Wild Wings, Subway, Pub 500, Pepsi Mankato, Pizza Ranch, Jack Links, Cold Stone Creamery, Barnes & Noble.
Talking about the schedule here earlier.
Herbert and Gerbert's and the Maverick.
Fitzy, the Coach McCoskey characterizes a typical wrestling season. The way it works now is he calls it, there's the open season where you try to figure out what your lineup's going to be by basically wrestling everybody in those open meets. We've been to 3 of those already this year. Having St. John's, frankly, at this point in the season, it really is kind of a unique situation in the way our schedule has been set up here lately, because the dual season typically doesn't start till around Christmas time. So it's kind of nice to get dual action here at this point in the season, I think, and then you get into your dual season, and then after that it's your conference and regional and national season. So 3 parts to the wrestling schedule. Now it sets up for colleges as we took a little break. I think this is a medical timeout as Andrew McFall has, I think, a little bit of blood coming out of his nose right now, and the trainer's going to try to fix him up.
Yeah, I think it might be his lip. Looks like it might have been leaking a tiny bit there. There was a couple extra points given right at the end too. I think the last time we had checked in, we said it was 7-5. As both competitors got up at the end of that, they did give 2 more points there to Becker. So Becker does lead 9-5 over the McFall Mavericks, but over the Mavericks at McFall in this match so far.
There you go.
It sounds like something that McDonald's would be offering, right? The McFall?
The McFall, 100%.
Yeah.
One thing to remember too is one thing that you said earlier on, Paul, is that the St. John's Johnnies, it is the Division III program for wrestling here. Fierce competitor zone. I mean, this is the first time that we've seen so far as a team that they've been able to take any of the leads against the Mavericks' opponents. But all of the matches, with maybe exception to that first one that was kind of in and out on that mat, have been very close.
Yep.
Very good skills coming from both of the competitors on both teams.
Busy weekend coming up for Minnesota State in athletics with a lot of stuff going on Saturday in particular, but the Maverick track and field teams, their first action of the year comes this weekend with the Chuck Peterson Open. It's a Friday and Saturday event. By the way, Chuck Peterson, iconic former Minnesota State track and field coach, passed away here last week, and he was usually going to be down for that track and field event here in Mankato at Minnesota State, but unfortunately he's not going to be there. And I tell you what, we're all going to miss Chuck. Just a heck of a guy, and wishing him and his family all the best. His son Kevin was a pole vaulter, All-America for us, and his son AJ also pole vaulted for us. And so one of those deals where I talked about how fortunate we are having such great people running our programs. Chuck Peterson was definitely one of them, a longtime track and field coach here, passing away here recently.
Track and field, now correct me if I'm wrong on that too, Paul. Men's and women's are both ranked #1 in their conference right now for the NSIC.
Polls came out today, and indoor track and field polls came out, and of course the men have won the last 7, I think, indoor track and field champions, and the women have won the last 2. So probably not really a surprise, but we'll be again. I think the national polls have our men's team ranked 5th right now in the preseason. And under direction, of course, a new head coach, Jim Dilling, the former coach, resigned back in the spring. We brought in Mike Turgeon from, who was a long-time assistant coach at Winona State, as our head coach now.
And so an 11-6 decision for St. John's. Noah Becker, your updated team score: Minnesota State 19, St. John's 3.
So 11-6 the final there. Noah Becker from St. John's gets the Johnnies on the scoreboard, 19-3 in team score. That's going to, and they're going to pick up some additional points here, Fitzy.
Team score.
Yeah, hoping to break that gap a little bit. And yeah, you're right too.
St. John's,
a lot more coming onto the board now. So it is 19-9 they're going to score it at the end of that match.
It's a forfeit at 133. So we'll go to our 141 match.
141 pounds for St. John's sophomore Anthony Hennon. And for your Mavericks, a sophomore from Truman, Minnesota, Louis Sanders.
So Andrew Smith there for the Johnnies wrestles a perfect match right on the mat, right off the mat. It is going to be a forfeit there for the Mavericks as they didn't have anyone to wrestle him. So it was 6 points there given to the Johnnies. Mavericks still up by 10 in this one, 19-9 over the Johnnies.
So Louis Sanders now wrestling for Minnesota State's off to a good start. He's 5-on-3 and he picks up 2 quick points here, but he's a kid I think has got a chance to really have a great year. Had a really solid year last year for Minnesota State, 17-9 on the season. He saw a lot of action in duels for us, went 10-4, and is a kid, another one of those local kids who is really talented and hard worker.
2-point near fall, Sanders.
Looking for big things from Louis this winter.
Just going back to the success that you were talking about, Paul, with the track team, kind of promoting MSU right now. It's been a phenomenal year for sports all around for MSU. We won the NSIC for soccer. We made it to the NCAA conference tournament. We're in the round of 8 right now for football. That game will be at noon here at Blakesley Stadium. We were up to number 5 at one point in hockey, still top 10 for that. Kind of all around the board, it's been a very good year for sports for the Mavericks, as it usually is.
Absolutely. Of course, the football team hosting school from the Lone Star State this weekend with Texas A&M Commerce coming to town, and Mavericks undefeated. Of course, won 2 playoff games already at home, and if Minnesota State would be fortunate enough to win on Saturday, would advance to the national semifinals. Now, they reseed after the quarterfinal matches, but games. So it'll be interesting to see what happens if Minnesota State does win. There is one other undefeated team left in the national tournament, and besides ourselves, I wouldn't be surprised if the Mavericks, if they would win on Saturday, are back again to host a semifinal game at Blakesley the following weekend.
Of course, this is the first time for the Mavericks that they've made it this far in the tournament since 2014. A lot of schools might say that they're a little bit strange. It's kind of a strange experience to be able to host this far into the year, but the Mavericks, another good program in football. This is the second time in 3, coming on 4 seasons now. Great coaching there, but we also get a lot of good recruits just because of the way that the program has succeeded in the past.
We lost in a national semifinal game at Blakesley in 2012 to Valdosta State, who ended up winning. Adam Thielen's last game for us was at Blakesley Stadium in the national semifinal game, 2012.
Adam Thielen's a name I've heard once or twice, especially this year here. Of course, his success with the Vikings, a Maverick alumni, and I was following a lot of the football tweets there for the football program here for the Mavericks. You always see him and his wife Caitlin Thielen still tuning into the matches, especially this late on. Another athlete that stays close to home, and even I was fortunate enough to work the Vikings training camp this year, and he asked every person that came up, "Do you want me to sign homegrown on whatever you would have me sign for you?" So that's really close to his heart.
Love it. And of course, you talked about Adam. You know, Adam on his social media accounts, he's very active on social media, as is his wife Caitlin. Caitlin also was a soccer player for Minnesota State, so a couple of alums right there. But Adam, if you'll notice when he does national media, he always, not always, but I've seen him several times wear Maverick gear. And this Sunday, Adam's going to be on ESPN NFL Countdown with Randy Moss interviewing him. So I'll be curious to see what Adam is wearing for that. Yeah, I think he was talking to the Vikings PR people today, and Adam tells a story about meeting Randy Moss when he was young. The Thielen family had come down when Adam was a teenager for training camp, and he met Dante Culpepper. Actually, was fortunate enough to get onto training camp field. You work training camps, you know that it's not everybody gets to go on the field.
Nope.
But he got on the field and got introduced to Dante Culpepper and Randy Moss. And I wonder if they're going to actually bring that up. I bet you they do. I bet you it comes up during the interview. And Randy Moss has met a million kids, as did Dante Culpepper, and as Adam Thielen is right now, meeting 1,000 kids. So Adam remembers that vividly, apparently, and one of his great memories of training camp. He talks all the time about how fortunate he was to spend time in Mankato during training camp with the Vikings being here, because he had an opportunity to see Chris Carter and Randy Moss and Jake Reed, all those great Vikings receivers, and he learned a lot. And says that he tries to emulate what they do in the way he plays right now.
Thielen is just a really good story overall. You can talk about the stats this year. I mean, he's number 3 in receiving yards, number 4 in receptions in the NFL. He really worked to get to where he was, though. A player that wasn't invited to the combine. There was 26 receivers, if I remember right, to be the exact number, that went in the draft the year that he could have been drafted. He wasn't one of them. Ended up on a practice squad for the Vikings, worked his way up, and is now, you can't even say that he's just a top 10 receiver right now. He's an elite receiver in the NFL.
Superstar.
Leading in votes, too, for the Pro Bowl.
Yep. 8-1 to score here with this match. Louis Sanders leading Anthony Hennon right now at 141. St. John's has been picking up some points here now and closed the gap. It's 19-9 in the team score right now, but it appears to me Louis Sanders might be able to pick up another few points here for Minnesota State in the team score.
There was the brief break in the last match for some medical attention. There was some in this one as well, as I believe it was Hennon's nose was bleeding a little bit, so we'll have to keep an eye on that one. Hopefully everything's okay there. There's going to be another couple points. Near fall there for Louis Sanders, now leading 12-1 in this match.
He does have riding time as well, although he's not quite at the point where he would receive the point at the end of the match, but it is 12-1. We're getting close to technical fall time here.
Of course, you do need the 15 points in order to get that technical fall. Referee position will put Sanders on his feet there. There is going to be the 1-point escape given to Hennon for the Johnnies there. That's kind of an easy escape there too, almost more or less just let him.
Yep. We'll keep trading. We'll keep trading takedowns for escapes.
Yep. 2-1, 2-1, 2-1. It's a good way to do it. Sanders had him about 6 to 7 feet in the air at one point there too. A great job by Hennon breaking the fall on that one, but making the best of a bad situation, not giving up any points on that either.
Two-point takedown, Sanders.
A couple more points there for Sanders, now leading by 13. The score is 14-1 in this match for Sanders.
I think I was going to say they didn't give Hennon the point earlier, so now they adjusted the score. It's 14-2.
Looking around the mat, too, you can see the teams on both sides. Interesting feature to Minnesota State here, though. You do have the couches on the far left end. You have some kids getting maximum comfort there on the front lines, too. It's always good to see. You get a lot of fans out to these wrestling matches, too. There's got to be at least probably 200 people here.
Yeah.
Good job by the Mavericks fans just supporting the local sport. Another easy point there for Hennon. Kind of goes back to what you said, though, Paul. We're going to exchange points. We'll give him the 1 point on the escape, but we are getting the couple points on the takedown, as we just saw there by Sanders again, now leading 16-3 over Hennon in this match.
There it is. Oop. That should be it. Yep.
4-point near ball Sanders, and it is a 20-3 technical ball victory for Louis Sanders. Your updated team score: Minnesota State 24, St. John's 9. Moving on to 149 pounds. For the Johnnies, a freshman, Brandon Ortman. And for your Mavericks, a freshman from Apple Valley, Minnesota, Kyle Rathman.
So the Minnesota State University fans getting their first look at the fans that are in attendance at the freshman Rathman. Again, he does have a 9-3 record. He's going up against Brandon Ortman for the Johnnies with the 1-2 record, both listed at the weight of 149. Very quick start to this match. Both of the competitors are getting a lot of quick moves in there right now. You would never know, looking at Rathman, that he's a freshman. He looks a lot older than the freshman age.
Yep. Well, that's a great wrestling program in Apple Valley, the high school program up there. Eagles, one of the best wrestling programs in the country. 2 points. 2 points scored there by Rathman here as Minnesota State hoping to build on this 24-9 team score.
So Rathman electing not to just give the 1 point escape, the easy escape point that came a lot in the last match for Sanders there. Instead, he is going to go for a couple breakdown points here. Again, it will be breakdown as both competitors started on their knees instead of their feet, so it won't be a takedown. Getting closer to the edge of the match. Not much in terms of points over the last little while. Is this more just some technicalities going for both wrestlers? Now, we should tell the viewers as well, you're hearing red and green, of course, coming from the referee. The Mavericks are green in this case. The Johnnies are red, so when you hear the points coming for green, those are points going to the Mavericks. Still leading 2-0 so far in this match is Rathman. You said it with Matthew Blom earlier on that he was a freshman last year. Of course, he was an All-American too. Rathman with a 9-3 record, looking to go 10-3 on that one. Definitely on a good path to that tournament right now too, early on for the Mavericks.
Be interesting to see how it goes. I mean, you know, coast in the upper Midwest, there's a lot of good teams. St. Cloud State won the last 2 national championships, and there's the Mavericks, I think, are probably better than their current ranking of 19th. But if you look at where St. Cloud State's ranked, number 1 again right now in the poll, but Upper Iowa's ranked 9th, and you've got Augustana ranked 21st. UMary's 23rd. So you've got a number of teams from NSIC ranked in the top 25 nationally right there, and you never know where they are at the different weight classes when it comes, but certainly this youngster for Minnesota State, Rathman, off to a really good start. We don't have that many kids who have been All-Americans as freshmen, extremely difficult to do, as you can imagine.
You see a lot of good wrestlers from both Division 1, 2, and 3, from all three divisions, coming from the Midwest, kind of the eastern part of the country. Of course, Penn State for Division 1 has always kind of been a powerhouse, but a lot of wrestlers coming out of Minnesota, out of Illinois, out of Wisconsin. Very good programs there in the high school. Something that they take a lot of pride in is the wrestlers that they send to the post-secondary schooling for their schools. So referee's position will have Rathman on all fours for this one, so he is going to take the kneeling position.
Two-point reversal.
2 points on the reverse there for Rathman. Almost got another 2 points on another reversal there. Good job by him holding position, just looking to get the shoulders on the mat. Instead, it is going to be going face first for Ortman. Good job by him just staying out of the pin.
Picks up a point on the stalling point. 5-0 now, the score of this match in favor of Rathman. Ooh, the old chicken wing there. Rathman had Ortman in a real difficult position there, and the referee whistled it.
All three of Rathman's losses so far this year have come from decisions too. Kind of an interesting stat there. So he hasn't been pinned. That's a good thing for a freshman, obviously, a good thing for anybody. But if they're coming by decisions, even though he's losing, he's keeping it close in every match that he's been in so far. Ortman is going to get his first 2 points of the match here for the Johnnies on the takedown. You can see Ortman has his arm around the left shoulder of Rathman there, looking for the level change. So the level change more or less is just the act of raising and lowering your hips in order to execute an attack. Good job by Rathman to get out of that one. But that has been something that we've seen from Ortman a couple times so far, just trying to get his hips underneath the hips of Rathman, raising them and then getting a takedown. Again, Rathman able to break free of that one, leading 5-2 still here in the match.
One of Rathman's losses came to Keaton Shore of Augustana. That's a NSIC opponent right there. As our two losses came to a wrestler from UW La Crosse and another one from WEC. Most of his matches, Aaron, have been against Division III wrestlers so far. So it'll be interesting to see once we get into the NSIC schedule, because it does get a little bit tougher here later on in the year. But at 9-3, coming into tonight's match, that's a pretty solid start for anybody.
Yeah, anybody. Of course, we keep hammering home on the freshman, probably a stat that we don't even have to say anymore, too. I mean, if you're 9-3, it doesn't matter what class you're in. 93 is a good record to be posting either way.
Just takedown.
2-point takedown, Rathman.
Good takedown, like you said, Paul. They will get 2 points for Rathman on that, now leading 7-3.
Picking up riding time now, too.
A good job by Rathman. I mean, you always are looking for points, no matter where you are in the wrestling match, but time is expiring quickly here for Ortman, and if Rathman's just able to not get any more points and not give up anymore, he will end up with the win. So the clock is definitely on the Maverick side right now in this match.
Seconds left in the match.
Go, Ortman. 43, let's go. Let's go.
They're going to start at a level position on this one, both on their feet, face to face.
There it is. There it is.
2-point takedown, Rathman.
Good job by Rathman, just immediately listening to the coach's instructions. About 3 or 4 seconds after you heard Makovsky yell, "You got to score," he gets a 2-point takedown, so a good job by him. Just listening to exactly what he needed to do, just 5 seconds remaining in this match, up 9-4.
And with the riding time advantage, a 10-4 decision for Kyle Rathman. Updated team score, Minnesota State 27, St. John's 9. Moving on to 157 pounds for the Johnnies, Jared Novak. And for your Mavericks, a junior from Ottawa, Illinois, Daniel Close.
Now, Paul, I got to ask, every time you hear them say Ottawa, Illinois, does your stomach drop a little bit too, just assuming it's going to be Ottawa, Ontario, as opposed to being Canadian?
There's an Ottawa in Kansas, too. Yeah. By the way, I should mention, I was going to bring this up just for you, Simon Fraser ranked 12th in the country.
Simon Fraser, of course, yeah, I was going to say that too, out of British Columbia up in Canada. The reason that Paul and I mentioned that, we are both Canadian-born, so going back to our roots as much as we can, though obviously ecstatic to be where we are here in the U.S., of course, too.
Well, Daniel Close wrestling for the Mavericks, 4-3 on the season, but another kid that's wrestled quite a bit for the Mavericks over the years, and it's an interesting mix that Coach Makovsky has, because you do have some young guys, but Close 17 and 13 last year, and did see a lot of action in duels for Minnesota State, wrestling to a 7-6 mark in dual action at 149.
Taylor Center, just looking at some of the stats too for the Mavericks, has been a place that the Mavericks want to be. Last year, we went perfect at home, 6-0. We have a 15-2 record in the Taylor Center here at Minnesota State University over the past 3 seasons too. So, for lack of better words, home field advantage is something that's worked very well for the Mavericks over the last few years.
65th year for Minnesota State wrestling, Aaron. 995 matches. Chris Langlois, who works with our wrestling program, pointed out that we're not that far away from 1,000 matches. So let's take a look at the schedule here. So this is 996.
We'll be at home for that 1,000.
97, 98. MSU Moorhead, I think, will be 99, and then Augustana, January 25th, I think, if my math is correct. So I think the Maverick Duels is it's a triangular, so I think we'll get 2 matches in there. So I think Augustana on January 25th of this year will be the 1,000th all-time match for Minnesota State.
Still 2-0 early on in this one for Daniel Close over Novak. Again, Novak does have a 2-2 record, so looking to get over that 500 mark. On the other side of things, though, Close looking to stay over that 500 mark, as he is looking to go 5-3, currently 4-3 right now for the Mavericks. Looking for the escape right now is Novak, maybe even looking for a reversal just based on the way that his body was positioned. Official is going to blow the whistle to restart things, however.
Go, Jared.
So Daniel Close wrestling for the Mavericks here. We're at 157, holding on to a 2-0 lead in the first period. This is match number 9. One more to go here, Aaron. Dylan Herman will take on Noah Lefebvre. Lefebvre in the next and last match at 165.
Do it.
2-point reversal, Novak.
So much like the Mavericks, the Johnnies were also at that Augsburg Open earlier in the year. Mavericks aren't the only Division II program that they wrestle against. They do have a few of those on their schedule. It just goes to show how good of a program it is. And even more than that, they did have 5 wrestlers finishing in the top 6 positions at that Augsburg's Open too earlier this month.
Do it. Come back on the head. Open up. Boy.
Noah Becker. Earlier on, he was the one that beat Andrew McFall. Just looking at one of his quick stats too, he is ranked as the 9th rated wrestler at 133. So no surprise there, just kind of looking onto that stat as to why the match may have gone the way that it did. Very, very good wrestler coming for the Johnnies. When you think of Bresnan Arena here at MSU, 100% a multi-use facility. We have wrestling here. We're going to have basketball, a couple doubleheaders this weekend. Volleyball. We had trick or treat with the Mavericks earlier this year. Basically used, and there's concerts, of course, during homecoming, but used for about every event you could possibly think of that needs a hardwood floor. Graduation.
We did host, when we hosted the 2004 Division II National Wrestling Championships, the first day we had to use both Myers Fieldhouse and Taylor Center. And then for the championship round on the last day, everything was here in Taylor Center. Great, obviously a beautiful facility. There's not a Division II basketball facility like this, I don't think, in the country.
A friend of mine, going back to the summer when we were working as interns for the Vikings, he goes to Elon, which is a Division I school in North Carolina, and he walked into our facility and said that he would have no idea that this was Division II. It's nicer than their Division I facility. He was saying over at his school. So it just goes to show of the programs. And kind of going off that too, I had the opportunity to meet Jimmy Marshall, actually, and if some of the listeners recall, he was one of the Purple People Eaters back in the earlier years there for the Vikings.
Should be in the Hall of Fame.
Should be in the Hall of Fame. Two of the other Purple People Eaters are, of course, the Vikings are really pulling for him right now to get in the Hall of Fame, but him and his wife actually met in the Taylor Center during a Vikings training camp.
Oh, is that right?
Of course, this was the last year, the 52nd year that the Vikings were having it here, but yeah, having the chance to meet him, I was able to bring them back, him and his wife, over to the Taylor Center, and they kind of had their moment just recapping the feelings that they had, because yeah, they met one another over there. This match is tied all up at 2s now.
There you go. Elevate it. Lay at your feet and elevate it. You're up. Go. Work hard. Go, Jared. Yes.
Referee finally giving him the takedown.
Right at the end of that second period, too, able to get 2 quick points in. We are going to have to keep an eye on Novak here, though. He is favoring his left knee. Getting up slowly. He's trying to stretch that one out a little bit, too. Wrestling.
They're tough, aren't they? Tough guys, aren't they? Easy peasy.
Wrestling, much like hockey, going off what you said there, Paul, about the toughness. They're guys, no matter what the injury, they're going to want to stay in, and that's not necessarily something you see across the board in sports. Wrestling, 100% one of those is you're going to fight through an injury if the match is still going. Quick point there. As you heard over the mic there, by Close is for the escape. Now trailing just by 1 here in the match. It is the 3rd period of this match as well.
Third period, 4-3 the score right now, favoring Jared Novak of St. John's over Minnesota State's Daniel Close.
Minute 18 remaining here in the 3rd period, too.
Oh.
Good job there by Jared Novak on the Johnnies. Actually, and right as I say that, he does end up giving the 2 points on the takedown to Close. I was going to say good job by him not giving up any points on that first initial takedown, though, as there was a very good opportunity for Close on the Mavericks to get maybe 4 points, was able to limit that just to 2.
Close does have riding time as well. Novak hopes to get back in this match. He's going to have to get up. 34 seconds to go.
It's just a 1-point deficit too. You can hear a lot of talk coming here from the sidelines. Good job by his teammates, just keeping him aware of where he needs to be. But he is still looking for that 1 point. Bit of a deficit right now.
Chloe's doing a great job of staying on top of him right now. 19 seconds.
Clock, of course, Close's best friend right now. Will be a 6-4 decision there for Daniel Close. Just like you said on that one, Paul, there was the riding time decision. So that will bring the overall team score to 30-9 for the Mavericks. Again, that was close. He's now going to be a record of 5-3 after a 6-4 win over Jared Novak on the St. John's Johnnies.
That was a good match.
Very closely matched. I mean,
gone either way.
No pun intended on Daniel Close's last name, but very close and evenly matched competitors in that last one. I always have to point that out, Paul. I know you're a huge fan of the punny last name, so. So it is Daniel Herman posting the 4-3 record in this last match right now. Wrestling against Noah. Now I may pronounce this one wrong. My apologies if so, but Noah Lefevre. I'm hoping that B is silent. Otherwise, I was wrong.
In the States, it's Lefevre.
Lefevre, fair.
In Canada, it's Lefay.
Lefay. Going back to those French roots for us.
There was a former Los Angeles Dodger named Jim Lefevre.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. He had a son who played baseball at University of Minnesota and was a Twins announcer for Ryan Lefevre. I'll check out and see where Ryan is right now because he was really good. And what actually was doing Kansas, he went from the Twins market to Kansas City and was doing Royals games for a while.
A couple quick points early on there for Herman on the takedown.
So Herman, one of the national qualifiers for Minnesota State, made his first appearance at Nationals last year.
Looking maybe for the pin here. Good job. Sorry to cut you off there, Paul. Good job by Lefevre keeping that one alive, though.
Herman 23-10 last year. Trying to pick up his 5th win right here. There it is right there. Oh, thought he had him. There it is.
There's going to be a pin, so that was the final on the match list here. Minute 24 seconds in. A good job by Herman. He is going to get the decision off of a pin on that one. So the final team score, Minnesota State 36. The Johnnies are going to end up with 9. So a good 25 or 27-point win. Quick math there, but a good 27-point win there for the Mavericks.
So 36-9, your final score, Fitzy.
Saturday, January 6th for the Mavericks. We want to see you back here in President Arena to cheer on your Mavericks. Minnesota State University Athletics would like to thank all of you in attendance tonight. Thank you for coming and supporting our wrestling team. We ask that you please drive home safely so that you might join us again. And remember, it's great to be a Maverick.
Okay, so 36-9, the final score right here. Minnesota State opening its dual season with a victory over the Johnnies from St. John's in a non-conference match here at Taylor Center. And then open action before we get back to more dual action here in a few weeks.
Of course, too, a good start by the Mavericks here at home. We talked about last year. Completely unblemished schedule, 6-0 at home, keeping the home, I guess you could say home mat advantage for wrestling starting.